Welcome to AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. I am referee and co-host Aubrey Edwards, along with my co-host and commentary legend, Tony Schiavone. How you doing, Tony?
Aubrey, what's up, girl? How you been?
I'm good. I'm 2 cups of coffee in. How many monsters are you in?
I'm 1 monster in. I got another one on the way.
On the way.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I don't do the coffee stuff anymore, even though it's been 18 months working at Starbucks. That did not get me out of coffee. I just gone a different direction. That's all.
Have a new love. I respect it. It's fine. Also, something I respect is people needing to reschedule podcasts because they have a birth of a child. So I'm excited to finally have Kyle O'Reilly on the podcast today. That was a fun message getting like 10 minutes before our last podcast. Like, hi, Kyle's not going to make it. His wife went into labor. So congratulations. How are you?
Thank you
dad?
So much. It's so cool. Yeah, you hear the cliche. It's such an indescribable feeling. Oh, you won't know love until you have a kid. All right, I got you. But then when it happens, it's really it's pretty special.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. I want to touch on something I mentioned on Twitter. I called you a Pacific Northwest legend.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like amongst like my circle. Because I started working in Vancouver after you had already been signed. And like, I've just heard stories about Kyle O'Reilly and El Phantasmo like all the time from like Baroni and Nicole and Artie and all these people. So I'm like, oh, this guy's like legendary. He's awesome. So I was like, oh, right. So anytime someone thinks Pacific Northwest legend, they think like Bryan Danielson. I'm like, oh, right. I got to tailor it down a little bit. So you're a legend to me. Thank you for being here today.
Well, I appreciate being legendary status to you, Aubrey. That's pretty cool. But it doesn't feel that way. But yeah.
Nah, take it. So you debuted at the Dynamite Holiday Bash, came in the middle of a match. I think Bryce's back was turned, so this may be news to him. But came in, confronted Orange Cassidy. What was all that like? Like, how was that day for you?
It was super cool. And, I want to say stressful, but it really wasn't. It was just kind of like just exciting. Like a lot of my experiences in the last few years of wrestling have been very stressful and high pressure situations, but this just felt like, I don't know, it was like a homecoming. I just felt comfortable and ready to rock. And I didn't really confirm anything, I think, until like the day before, or maybe the Monday before that Wednesday. And they flew me into, I think we were in Greensboro, and I flew into Charlotte, and Boz, the driver, picked me up, and we had a great chat on the way up to Greensboro. And it was just such a cool, exciting time. And of course, seeing everybody backstage, people that I came up with in this business for years that I hadn't seen in so long. It was just a really cool reunion of sorts. And then, of course, the debut happens in this arena full of people, and it just was so exciting. And like, I'm kind of getting goosebumps just thinking about it and reminiscing about it. But it was a special moment, and I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity with AEW.
The moment Kyle received a tremendous pop when you arrived, and I think realistically, there's a lot of fans out there that expected you to arrive with AEW, but they didn't know when, and they didn't know how it would unfold. And it was such a tremendous pop when you got into the ring. Was it? And you did a great job of just looking the badass that you are. Was it tough doing that? I mean, is it tough to stay in character sometime when you get such a tremendous pop? I mean, you're going to be a heel, but fans love to see it, right? Right. In those situations, you just want to kind of embrace it and just enjoy that love that you're feeling from and pick up on that energy. But that's kind of the cool thing about wrestling. You can still enjoy that energy and pick up on the crowd response, but still stay true to yourself and your character. And I think that was cool. And I think the people were just excited to see me and Adam and Bobby all together. It was like, it wasn't just, oh, there's Kyle O'Reilly. Yeah, but it's, oh, there's Kyle O'Reilly and the three of those dudes are together. Whoa. Sure, like that's what made it kind of cool, I think. Right.
I think that's one of the things that I really like about AEW in particular is that we don't shy away from people's past experiences and where they're like, maybe we can't say Undisputed on TV and we can't, mention WWE, but like our fans at least know like the importance of you showing up. You got to acknowledge
that, right?
Yeah. Right. It's like, it's not like, oh yeah, he vanished for 4 years and wasn't wrestling. It's like, that's part of the great storyline here.
Right. And if you just ignore it, then the people are just like, okay, like we're not idiots. Come on, just acknowledge this. Like, totally agree with you
Right.
there.
I like it in particular because it feels like a very adult storyline where like Adam Cole has these two groups of friends and they're both
Yeah,
like vying for his time. And I'm like, oh,
I
that's like
know.
every adult ever who's like changed jobs or
Totally.
like
Yeah.
this
A
isn't
group of friends
completely
changes.
relatable.
You want to keep that link to your past of your buddies from before, but you're kind of moving on. Like, yeah, it's very, very adult.
Yes. Dynamite New Year's Smash. You, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish versus Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. How did it feel to get the pin on your first debut on Dynamite, but also I think it was the last pin on the Dynamite and TNT era? What does that feel
Wow.
like to
Yeah.
you?
It was unreal. Just coming out in that Jacksonville arena, which, during the pandemic, of course, watching AEW and watching that environment and seeing that arena. And then it's kind of surreal to actually come out and to hear a crowd response and to have a whole crowd of people there actually enjoying what they're seeing was kind of special in of itself. And of course, wrestling with those guys and having a 6-man tag against the Best Friends, like these are dudes that I've known for a long time. So it was pretty cool and unique to have my debut with those guys as well. Like I was very comfortable in every aspect of it. And it was really exciting. And I'm just can't wait to get back in there. I can't wait to be on TBS. I can't wait to be on TNT again. I just can't wait to come back and get back in the ring.
We are talking with Kyle O'Reilly, and Kyle, coming up a little bit later, we're going to have fan questions. But since we're talking about Adam Cole and Bobby Fish and your association with them, this comes from @WigglesFT on Twitter. Wants to know, how did you meet Adam Cole, and how did you guys come together as a team and develop into a story that spans for years? How did that all start?
Yeah, meeting Adam Cole goes back to 2009, and I had recently just packed up everything I own and left British Columbia and crossed the border into the US. And I was going to make this pro wrestling thing work no matter what. And whatever it takes, I'm just going to move my whole life and starve, sleep on a couch until whatever it works out. And so there was a company called Dragon Gate USA that was starting to gain some momentum in the independents. And they had a show in Philadelphia. And so I drove, there was an opportunity for a pre-show match or a dark match. Maybe if you come out, maybe there's a spot for you. So of course I get
That's
in my car. It's a long drive. Yeah. And so I drove to Philly and I get to the building, and there's this young kid named Adam Cole who's pretty fresh. Like I think he'd only been wrestling maybe a year or two. I was a veteran of 4 years at that point, but no, we were still super green and super new and super just anxious and ready to prove ourselves. And so we wrestled each other in a dark match, and we did really well. Like the crowd was super into it. It was like our first sort of breakout match that like people are talking about us now. And so they went up on the YouTube, and it just created a bit of buzz for both of us. And it was really cool to see. And we hit it off like gangbusters from the first time, hanging out and talking and working together. And we had great chemistry. And then we ended up getting picked up by Ring of Honor, and they ended up signing us both at the same time. And they're like, well, what are we going to do with these two young kids? Let's just put them in a tag team as baby faces to try and start getting over. And that's exactly what we did. We started tagging, and then, I think eventually I turned on him, or however that all went down, and then we feuded, and we've been like connected ever since. Like our careers are kind of paralleled, and we've been tagging, we've been bitter enemies, blood feuds, best friends again, and then enemy. It's just been kind of a cycle, and it's been amazing because I owe so much to that guy. Like, I don't want to say that I've been riding his coattails because that's not necessarily true, but
He's
like
riding yours.
But it's such like I owe so much to just being associated with Adam, and I've learned so much as a performer from him. And yeah, he's one of my legit best friends, and just a great guy, and and one of the best all around performers in this business. So it's pretty cool that that's a bonus as well.
So when we had Adam on the podcast, he said that the journey to AEW happened rather quickly. His contract expired, and then he suddenly shows up pretty soon after that. And I remember the day in Greensboro. Anytime we have someone new joining the company, there's always that like kayfabe moment of like they have their own dressing room and it just says special guest. And I look across the hall and you're sitting in there with the Elite. I'm like, oh, okay, no, it's definitely Kyle. No one's keeping this kayfabe. Like everyone just knows he's here. This is great. So when did you seriously consider like coming over to AEW? Like when did that become an option for you?
I mean, probably as soon as Bobby debuted in AEW. And then of course, once Adam debuted in AEW, you know, the wheels start turning and it's like, okay, well, what do I got to do to get there as well? You know, these are my guys. And this is a place where I think Kyle O'Reilly can really, you know, be utilized well and fit in well. Like this is a company that has really set the standard for an in-ring product. And I think I'm suited better in an environment like AEW. And it really felt like homecoming there. And I'm just excited at all the prospects, all the potential matchups, and just everything about AEW was like, man, what do we got to do to get there? And so it's kind of like in motion the second all those guys came over. And once my deal came up, it was kind of a no-brainer, really.
Do you remember what it was like when you first met Tony Khan and talking to him?
Oh, it was pretty cool and surreal.
It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were chatting, I think the week when all the stuff with the Jacksonville Jaguars coach was going down. Right. And so he was so busy doing a million different things. I have no idea where this guy finds the time to even take a phone call with a guy like a Kyle O'Reilly. Like where it blows my mind. But you can tell just in talking with him that like he is so passionate about this industry and about this business and about making AEW what it is. Like, look what he's done with AEW in 2 years. It's absolutely incredible. Not to mention what he's doing, you know, with Fulham and with the Jags. It's like, it's pretty cool. And you really feel his energy and can tell that when he looks you in the eye and he gives you the time of day to chat, like he's not just, it's legit. Like he's really concerned about you and he wants whatever questions you have, he wants to answer them to the fullest extent of his abilities, and he's just a good boss, man. It's really cool. I can't say enough good things about Tony, really.
There's that moment where like he looks at you in the eye and just says, "Let's fucking go," and you're like, no one has ever meant more about that phrase than him.
And it's like, no,
he legit means it.
Yeah, it does fire you up. Absolutely,
totally does.
Yeah, we're talking with Kyle O'Reilly, and he had a tremendous career before his time in AEW. We'll talk more about that when we continue on AEW Unrestricted.
So you guys know we travel every single week for AEW Dynamite and Rampage, and that means we're constantly using unsecure airport Wi-Fi, hotel Wi-Fi, arena Wi-Fi, and security is super, super important. I'm not worried about hackers stealing my data because I use NordVPN on my phone, my laptop, every single device, and it gives me huge peace of mind.
Yeah, let me tell you this, and most of you know this, but this is very important because it's true. They're everywhere. They're hacker. If you go on to a public internet, it's really cool. You go into the airport, go into Starbucks, go into a restaurant, and they say, hey, free Wi-Fi. There's somebody around looking to hack into your information. But with NordVPN, that's not going to happen, right, Aubrey?
That's right. My internet traffic is routed through secure encrypted channels, which protects my data, my privacy. I can use NordVPN up on 6 devices. I can use it up to 6 devices. So everything is protected, not just my laptop, but my phone, everything else.
Absolutely. So, Aubrey, and I know you are in charge of gaming with AEW, and I know that's a very, very big deal, having a VPN to protect everything. I stream and download movies all the time when I travel, so that's a big deal for me. So we want to invite you to go to NordVPN.com/AEW or use code AEW to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus an additional month for free. It's equivalent to buying a cup of coffee every month. That's right. That's all it is. a small price to pay for premium cyber security access to vast amounts of entertaining content. 30-day money-back guarantee. If NordVPN is not for you, so there's absolutely no risk. Sign up today at nordvpn.com/AW. Use code AEW to get a huge discount of NordVPN plus an additional month for free. Give us that website again, Aubrey.
That is nordvpn.com/AEW. Totally risk-free. Check it out. You won't regret it.
AEW Unrestricted continues with Tony and Aubrey. Glad you could be with us, and so glad that Kyle O'Reilly is with us. Kyle's, just a little story, Kyle's, when he arrived, it was kind of like when Miro arrived with me. I was backstage in Jacksonville, and Miro walks by and said, "Hi, I'm Miro." And hi, how you doing? And then I stopped and went, "Shit, Miro's here." So I walk into, we're in Greensboro, and I go into the Bucks dressing room. I always like to go in to give people shit. And I go into the dressing room, and Kyle said, "Hey, Kyle O'Reilly." I went, "Hey, how you doing?" Then I walk out and went, "Shit, Kyle O'Reilly's here." It's just like, it's one of those senior moments where it doesn't hit you at first, but there you go. But anyway, it's great having you here, Kyle. And you grew up in Canada playing rugby
Sure.
all the way through high school. And listen, I had a son who played rugby, which in Georgia is not probably what it is in Canada, but I know what you kids go through playing rugby. That what did you love most about rugby? That's a badass sport. It really is.
It's a great sport. And one of my favorite things about it is just the team camaraderie. It's like you face another team, and it's like just a battle. It's a war. And then the second the match is over, it's hugging the other team. Let's go for beers. And it's just really like a really cool sort of club and fraternity to be a part of if you're a rugby player. And it's a really amazing sport. It's shocking that it's not a bigger sport in the US, because it's really got everything. It's physical, It's intense, it's hard hitting, and it's technical. And these guys, like, there's no whistles and breaks. Like it's like a soccer match. It's constantly going without any stoppage, and like you have to be insane physical, have crazy conditioning to be a good rugby player. And growing up in Canada, it was kind of big. Like in high school, like it was a pretty big kind of sport to be a part of.
Right.
And then in my senior year, we got to go over to Europe and play in Ireland and in England and Wales, and just get absolutely smashed by those guys, because it's a different league over there. Like they grow up playing, like it'd be like them coming to Canada and playing hockey against us, right? Like they're just going to get absolutely destroyed.
Oh yeah.
But that experience made us like such a complete team. Like we learned so much from it, and we came back and then ended up going undefeated in our senior year after getting just slaughtered by these guys. So and we gained so much from them, and just stayed in touch with those guys and their coaches and their teams. And yeah, it's a pretty unique sport.
So you broke into wrestling in 2005 and started your MMA training about a year after that. Why did you start the MMA training after wrestling? Because I know everyone kind of has their own reasonings and whatnot.
Yeah, it was just kind of a way to supplement my training that was similar to pro wrestling. Like it's really hard to capture what it feels like to perform in the ring from a cardio standpoint. Like there's really nothing that compares to a pro wrestling match. I felt like jiu-jitsu and kickboxing was close to that, and it was something that like made me a better pro wrestler. It made my footwork better. It made my timing better. It made all my strikes and my submission transitions better. Like I watched when I first broke in or debuted or whatever, and I'm trying to do like an arm bar and stuff like that. It just looks off because I didn't actually train yet. And so it wasn't until like years and years of training that it actually started to translate better into my pro wrestling. And so now it's part of my lifestyle. I love it so much. It's something that I do, on the regular, specifically jujitsu. I love it. And it just made me a bit more complete performer all around. And it was, it's difficult at first, like, especially, those first few years, nothing's really fun until you're good at it. So when you're just going in and getting smashed repeatedly by like tiny little dudes, it's, it kind of bruises the ego a little bit, but once you stick with it and you get better at it, like it's something that I absolutely love now. And I wouldn't change anything about that journey. And it's just really made my pro wrestling so much better, just having that ability, I think.
You mentioned that you met Adam Cole in 2009, and that began Ring of Honor when you were in Ring of Honor, and you said you grew up wanting to be in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. My main goal in wrestling, I wanted to wrestle in Japan. And I felt like going through Ring of Honor was like my pathway there. At the time, I broke in 2005, and that's when Ring of Honor was like the number one indie company. That's when Bryan Danielson was having that amazing ROH World Title run.
Right.
And I just wanted to be a part of that because, you know, it seemed like you could make a bit of a living there as an independent wrestler. Like I had no, like the possibility of going to WWE or a major company didn't even consider that a possibility. And it's nothing. I didn't really want that. I wanted to go to Japan. I wanted to make those sacrifices and to have that journey that made it worthwhile. If I did make it in wrestling, you wanted it to be full of sacrifices. We all read the autobiographies, like the Mick Foley book of sleeping in his car, eating raw potatoes. Like, what's the point of making it in this business without having an autobiography that's worth reading? And so, you know, I had to make that happen. And then, like I was saying before, in 2009, I packed up my life into my little Cavalier and drove to St. Louis and, you know, did the illegal alien thing for a few years and just determined to make it work no matter what. And I think you kind of have to have that outlook to make it in wrestling. Like, it's good to have a plan B and everything like that. But I feel like if I did have a plan B or something to fall back on, maybe I wouldn't have taken it as far as I have.
Speaking of big indie companies, you had a very good run at PWG. It has quite the history and the legacy with a lot of the people at our current company. You debuted there 2011, I think, with Adam Cole as Future Shock. Had great feud with the Young Bucks. I remember one of like my favorite matches to watch was the ladder match. Like Knox eventually ends up diving. You guys, it's with Player One and Player Dos, or Player Uno, Player Dos, who are now you know, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Talk about your PWG experience and sort of your rise since you were there for so long.
It's another place that, you know, as an indie performer, you want to take it to the next level. You get booked on a PWG show, and that's huge exposure because there's such a cult following. And this is the first time I wrestled in well, maybe not the very first time in California, but in Los Angeles. And that rabid Reseda crowd is just known for being just like kind of a mecca of indie wrestling. And coming in with Adam and to fight the Young Bucks was like, what a debut to have there. So you can't not kill it with the Young Bucks. You can't do that. So we tore it up and basically had a job there moving forward after that, and was always looked forward to going to work for PWG. Those weekends would take it out of you physically, just because you fly to the West Coast, you go to the venue, the shows start so late. Like sometimes the show wouldn't start till 9-10 p.m. You're going on at like midnight, which is 3 a.m. on the East Coast. You're so haggard. You get back to the hotel, flights in an hour, back to the airport. Like those weekends would destroy you, but were so worth it. Like it just, nothing but fond memories from going to PWG, because I really put a lot of passion and energy into those matches there. I'm really proud of the matches that I had there and the run that I had there. And it was a really special place.
Kyle, you mentioned you really wanted to, your goal was to wrestle in Japan. So in 2014, New Japan Pro Wrestling, you had a run there. And so now you're at Wrestle Kingdom in front of 60,000 fans at the Tokyo Dome. That had to be quite a moment for you.
Absolutely surreal. Absolutely surreal. And I think the first Tokyo Dome we did was maybe Wrestle Kingdom 9, I think maybe in 2015.
Okay.
And they brought Jim Ross in to do commentary, the English commentary.
Right.
So that was my first time meeting Jim Ross and having him call one of my matches. And that was one of the things that I told my parents, like, you know, okay, you're wrestling the Tokyo Dome in Japan, whatever. That didn't really mean nothing to them. But I told them, Jim Ross is doing commentary on my match. Like, Jim Ross, the commentator from WWF? Like, yeah, like, it just was so cool to explain that to them. And I think they were like, okay, maybe this is taking off. Maybe this is kind of a big deal. So I kind of helped explain to them, that this is an upward trajectory. It's not just, I'm not just treading water here.
Right. You had some incredible matches and moments during your time at NXT. And I know everyone talks about learning some great things from Shawn Michaels and whatnot. And I want to ask, like, is there anything in particular you learned during your experience there? And are there any like major moments that stand out to you?
I learned a lot about structuring like a main event match. And, there's that age-old adage of pro wrestling, listen to the people, and never really got what that really meant. Okay, I'm listening to them, like they're cheering and then they're quieting down. They're cheering. Sean really kind of taught us just to, instead of going up and down with the crowd reaction, you try and just keep it like a level. Like, so like on a double down, just don't move until they start to die. And then you can move and then you bring them back up. And it's just little things like that you don't really think of. And it's really hard to just learn on your own until someone just kind of explains that to you. And then a light bulb goes off and just helps you take your game to the next level. I feel like my time there made me so much more polished and complete as a performer. I'm so grateful for my time there, the 4.5 years there in that system, working with the Shawn Michaelses and the William Regals and the Triple H's, like really made me a much more polished and confident performer, I think.
You had to feel that your career was on the right trajectory because you had been in New Japan Pro Wrestling. You've been on the Indies, New Japan now, wrestling, the Wrestle Kingdom, big crowd, and now you're in NXT and you're going to be seen on a national level. So that had to be a good feeling for you signing with them.
Absolutely. It feels like all the sacrifices that I've made for the last, at that point, maybe it was 13 or 14 years, were all absolutely worth it. I can tell people now, I've made it to the top company at the time, I made it to a major television show. Like it's just something that you can just point at and say, look, all this was so worth it. And I don't know, it was really cool and really surreal. And I'm just grateful for having had that opportunity to go there. And because going there, I was able to use that to come to an AEW now where I feel like things are really going to kick off now for Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah. Makes that secret alien illegal move all worth it, doesn't it?
So worth it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're talking to Kyle O'Reilly on AEW Unrestricted, and we've got lots and lots of fan questions coming up. You're listening to AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. Aubrey and Tony here with the wonderful and amazing Kyle O'Reilly. We've got a bunch of fan questions. Obviously, you've had an incredible run on the Indies, a credible run at NXT, and people just want to know more about you and absolutely love you. So first question from Darren Report. Is there a particular event or match that inspired you to become a wrestler?
Ooh. I mean, I feel like the very first time I went to a show, I remember the feel. Like, so it was in 1998, WWF ran a pay-per-view in Vancouver called Rock Bottom. The main event was Stone Cold versus The Undertaker in a buried alive match. And like 12-year-old me was just an obsessed fan at that point, right? And I just remember everything about getting to that arena. I remember the smell of the t-shirt. I remember walking and seeing the ring for the first time and looking around and seeing this huge arena. And the feeling that gave me, it was just indescribable. And it was like, I know it's cliche to say, at that moment I knew I was going to be a professional wrestler, but it really kind of was. And like every little thing that, as a kid, you grow up and you have different goals and dreams and hopes and aspirations, but wrestling was always there as something that, and I don't care if I never would have made a dime off wrestling. Like if I was still at the Russian Cultural Center in Vancouver once a month, I would be doing it with all of my passion that I could muster, because it's just something that's in my blood that I just love, and I can't describe how much it means to me. So from that moment, I think I knew something in the realm of pro wrestling was for me.
Shout out to the RCC. Love that venue.
Yeah, great venue.
Well, shout out to the whole city, one of the great cities in the world.
Oh, I
Vancouver.
appreciate that, Tony. Great city, yeah.
Wow.
Can't wait till AEW can come there.
Me too.
Oh, I can't wait.
Spent a lot of time in Vancouver and Burnaby.
On.
Yeah, doing voiceovers for EA Sports Wrestling back in the 90s. Yep. Yeah, it was tremendous. I had such a great time there. Just a wonderful city. Okay, Ten Chi Jin Hart wants to know, over the years, Kyle has had a lengthy run as both a singles and a tag team wrestler. What do you prefer?
That's a tough one because I absolutely adore tag team wrestling. I think a good tag team match is one of the best things in this business, when it's done well with two teams that have the same philosophies and the same beliefs of just psychology and just the way they want to present the match. Like it's hard to top a good tag match. And I've had a lot of amazing tag team partners over the years. But of course, I love singles wrestling as well. I mean, there's something so different and unique about each element, and I just love to perform in general. Any chance I get, if it's a 6-man, an 8-man, a straight up tag match or a singles match, this is an opportunity for Kyle O'Reilly to show the world what he's all about and his beliefs and philosophy in wrestling. And I just want to make it as good and as realistic and believable and hard hitting as I possibly can.
Tony, I'm going to jump down a little bit. We got a question from Notorious BIZ. Please ask about Cool Kyle, the clothes, the goofy walk, everything. How much was his? How much came from the office?
They really were cool with just kind of letting us sort of come up with whatever we wanted to do. I felt like, so first I never called myself Cool Kyle once. That's what people bestowed upon me.
Right.
But it didn't catch on, and that's, who knows, maybe it just wasn't as authentic as people wanted to get behind it for. And I don't know. It's kind of weird. Who knows? If we were not stuck in one venue every single week with the same fans, maybe it would have taken off a little more. It's hard when you've turned babyface and you're trying to get over, but your heel is Adam Cole because the people just love the guy. And it was kind of difficult for me to, sort of turn them in my favor as well. And then lo and behold, of course, the whole rebrand happened, the NXT 2.0 thing. And then, all right, let's just try something different. And that's the thing about wrestling. You throw stuff at the wall and sometimes stuff sticks, sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely.
And you just have to put yourself out there and whatever you're doing, if it's given to you or if it's your own idea, you just got to try your best. And that's all I've ever wanted to do in wrestling, is just try my best.
We're talking with Kyle O'Reilly here on AEW Unrestricted, and we're doing fan questions. By the way, we appreciate all the fan questions that were submitted to Kyle on Twitter. This comes from Jedi Marcus. Kyle, we talked about already about your first time in AEW. You were in Greensboro. What was your first impression of the locker room in AEW when you first came in that week?
There's a true camaraderie there. And a lot of these guys I came up in the business with, like I'd mentioned earlier. There was so many people I hadn't seen in years that are some of my really close friends in this industry. And there really is something in the air in AEW in the locker room. There's just a drive and a passion that kind of feels like in Reseda in the PWG locker room. There's this, everyone wants to go out and absolutely kill it. And it's like a friendly competition. Like the match before me going out and absolutely killing it, it's going to drive me to kill it in my match, which is going to elevate the next match. And it keeps going up in a trajectory that is just, I think, why AEW is doing so well, because you can tell from watching the screen that these guys and girls are passionate and they're driven to just absolutely kill it. And you can't force that or fake that, because it's when you watch AEW, it's real. You see that these people are giving everything they have, from the production to the referees to the tag match to the main event. There's something about it that is really unparalleled, I think, in this industry, and it's cool to see.
And definitely, like, everyone feels it. We feel it in the back. They feel it in the crowd. Like, it's a completely unique experience, but it definitely captures what wrestling is. I love it. We have a question from JRocket121. Is there a story behind playing the air guitar on the championship belt?
As a kid, you see the Hogans coming out playing it. It's just something that we had a really cool theme song. And I didn't plan on doing that. I just came out and I just kind of just turned into a psychedelic funky priest slapping the bass on his title belt, and just kind of the music took over, and I just kind of, and it turned into a thing of itself. And then people were like, "Oh, you got to do the guitar thing tonight." What guitar thing? On the belt. Oh, okay. And then I just kind of kept doing it, and I guess people liked it for whatever reason. I think it looks stupid as hell when I do it, but hey, if people like it, then all right.
Well, once again, you got to throw things against the wall, see if they stick, right? And
totally.
that stuck. So there you go. So Endure to Survive wants to know, what's your favorite moment with the Undisputed Era?
Ooh, favorite moment. I think when the group was completed, when Roderick Strong joined the group, Bobby had a bad knee. He was out for one of our big takeover events, and we needed another guy to just complete the package. And when the group first started, we were like, there can't be anyone else a part of this thing. But we all sort of agreed that if there had to be another guy, I think Roddy would fit in tremendously, because we are tight with him. He came up in this business with us, and we're all, legitimately close friends. And he brings something to the group that we desperately needed. And then lo and behold, we get approached. Let's think about adding Roddy to the group, and we're like, perfect. And so once the group was complete and there was 4 members, that's such a special moment, and it was really cool.
Got a question from Ryan Coates. I was very happy about this as well. How happy are you to have Dance Away by Damn Valentine's back as your entrance theme?
I know. I love that tune. We had that all throughout Ring of Honor and in New Japan. And it's another thing. It's weird. Like, same with the Undisputed theme song. At first, when you hear it, you're like, you're not thrilled about it. And with Dan Valentine's, like, hey, that's kind of cool. He sort of sounds like Danzig when he's singing. And so I can get behind this. And then the more you use it, the more it jives with you, and the more the crowd, oh yeah, this is the part where we say yeah. They get interested in it and involved or whatever. And it ended up suiting us. And now I can't imagine ever coming out with Bobby to another song.
This is from @Ryan Horton. As someone training in Vancouver, Ryan says that we've got a very rich history of indie wrestling that no one knows about. What are your favorite match that you've seen or been a part of in Vancouver?
Ooh.
BC.
Let's see.
That's a tough one.
So Brian Danielson used to come up there quite a bit.
Yep.
And a guy that trained me, his name is Aaron Idle. Just a tremendous wrestler. He's a psychologist now. He's not really involved in wrestling anymore, but I'm still very close friends with him. But he believe it or not, he's actually legally blind. And when he's wrestling, he really can't see anything. Like when he's hitting the ropes, they disappear. And he's been a part of some of the best matches I've ever seen. And he had a match with Brian Danielson in Bridgeview Hall in Surrey. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen to this day. And watching his matches, and Aaron Idle versus White Tiger is a match that I, as a fan going to independent shows, made me believe that maybe I could do this. And there is a pathway to make it in pro wrestling. Because, when you just see wrestling on TV, you don't think that there's an avenue to enter the business from. And then you figure out, there's independent wrestling shows. There's a show at the local community center. What the hell? And then it kind of just opens, oh, wow, this is something that you can do. Okay. And then when I began to train, I started training under Idol. And he really explained wrestling as just in such a different way to me. And me and my friend Sid Silem, we were like, let's just go train, and we can train under this guy. And I think
it's great.
I haven't seen Sid in forever.
I think it's great that there's someone who was in wrestling is now into psychology.
Yeah.
we need more psychs in wrestling.
Yeah.
Damn right we do.
Absolutely.
Kyle, thanks a lot, buddy. It's great
Hey,
having you
thank
with
you,
us. It's
Tony.
great having you with us. It really is, man. And I saw in back where Arn Anderson one time called you and Bobby shooters. He said, "Hey, shooters." So that's what I call you and Bobby when I see you guys now, because
Right on.
because you're pretty freaking stiff. I'm sorry, but that in a good way. I mean that in a good way. Okay.
Yeah, well, Bobby's Stiffy Ray Vaughan. I go by Stiffy Wonder. So
I love it.
All right. You can follow Kyle on Instagram and Twitter at KOR Combat. That's KOR Combat. And don't forget, this podcast is available to you wherever you get your podcasts for free. And on YouTube, watch the video version by searching AEW Unrestricted, Aubrey Edwards.
And then also on YouTube, you can watch Dark Elevation on Mondays and Dark on Tuesdays. Lots of awesome, incredible AEW talent. Speaking of AEW incredible talent, like we're on every friggin' network on the Warner Media branch, it feels like. We're on TBS on Wednesdays, 8 o'clock, 7 Central. And then we're still on TNT, Rampage, Friday, 10 o'clock, 9 Central. This is Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone of AEW Unrestricted, signing off.